attached to mobile courts. Federal government increases surveillance at borders, airports over outbreak of bedbug infestations in France. On the foreign scene, Israeli military says most of the 200 people kidnapped by Hamas militants are still alive. I am Kala Dakuru Batubo. Good evening. There's been a fresh oil spill at Kedere community in Gokana local government area of Rivers State. Our correspondent gathered that the spill happened in the early hours of today. The acting paramount ruler of the community, Felix Kina, in a telephone interview tells correspondent Suibi Oruwari that the spill which happened near the primary school in the area disrupted their academic activities.
It has been happening, but this time we don't know how come it is like this, because it's very close to the primary school one in Kedere. The devastation caused unto hardship to the children that they ran away from school. This morning it happened in the night because we cannot even actually know what's going on. We asked them to go back so that both team, the community and church will know why it has happened in that way. And the advice is that people should scare from that area so that the expert can know exactly what caused the spill.
Also, an indigene of Kedere community, Barinyima Ba, explained the efforts they have made to ensure the spill does not result in further issues in the area.
Being a representative of the community, we went there to see things ourselves and saw that the spill was even rising very, very top. We started calling SPDC and to come to. It is my community, and they are the only international company that operates in my area. They are currently working on the pipeline replacement of the equipment. Their excavator was also around. Quickly brought the excavator from the spill area. Excavated the area, untouched the pipe, and saw that the spill as a result of corrosion.
Mr. Pa alleged that the owner of the pipeline where the oil spill occurred attempted to conduct the joint investigation visit JIV without the representatives of the community. He said the scene has been cordoned off.
Oil spill response team came. They wanted to conduct a JIV, and we said no, that our experts were not on ground to really analyze the situation with them. It wouldn't be reasonable that they by themselves, well prepared to conduct a JIV. The local government chairman, correctly, wasn't there also. Best they can do is to, since they have cleared the area, they haven't clamped. The only BS stick in that very and hole, so that the pressure will cease for now, but they haven't clamped.
Moving on, some stakeholders in the maritime sector say NNPCL's claims that it has enough supply of petrol cannot be corroborated by Nigerians following the increasing queues in filling stations across the country. An analyst, James Babalola, tells correspondent Suibi Oruwari that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited is not sincere to the citizens.
And when you say you have enough stock, it's private independent marketers that are loading. Your facilities that you use do not have enough fuel, or they are locked up. The long queue is there because people need. Other substations, smaller stations are shut down. They are not selling. It's because the NNPC themselves and their regulatory body, they are not doing anything to monitor and enforce what government regulations are in order to make the masses happy. That claim is not verified by an ordinary citizen because we do not have any means by which we can evaluate what NNPC is doing in this country.
On his part, another analyst, Martin Giadom, said Nigerians do not believe the NNPCL's claims because there is no proper monitoring of their activities.
As we speak, NNPCL is struggling to ensure that there is even distribution of petroleum products around the country. But how much are they doing to ensure that the product that they are trying to provide is readily available to Nigerians? Nigerians will continue to have fear in the present administration's effort in trying to providing that much needed petroleum products around the country.
In a related development, some gas tanker drivers say gas is now available at the various depots in the state. In an interview with our correspondent, the drivers, however, said that the cost for a truck of gas has now increased.
Like the there now. So many depots are good. Our loading is going on steady. They are loading and moving out, coming in. So yeah, but not only my company, other company has product loading, going out, people are coming in. There's some product circulating here. With the loader now the gas is now it is expensive. Now the gas is expensive now. With the load, that gas site Nigeria, the load yesterday. Therefore, the only price we cost 14.5.
Away from that, some drivers in Port Harcourt have expressed concern about the activities of police officers attached to the mobile courts. They tell our correspondent that the officers harass and intimidate them.
When they see motor glass that cracks small, then we hold the person and can't charge on that person. If I would like River State government to look into those mobile court acts.
They stopped me, I refused to stop. One of them used pipe and hit my side mirror. But the way they are doing things is not the right way.
I've not encountered them, but the mobile court, it helps to motivate some drivers to prepare their papers correctly. Then another thing is also help them to even go for their license and have their license correct and keep their vehicle fit for the road.
Mobile court, River State, yeah. Me, I know understand. They say they worry people, they collect money. I will see like this police carry motor like this, they can go front, collect money. They work for their pocket. They work for state.
Meanwhile, constitutional lawyer Richard Wokucha says motorists should not be worried about the presence of mobile court magistrates and the police on the roads. Professor Wokucha tells correspondent Emeka Otika that the primary purpose of mobile courts is to maintain order and ensure the safety of road users.
Primary thing is ensure order, let the motorists know that they must follow the rules. And the whole purpose of the traffic law is to ensure safety of road users, and, which comes from people playing according to the rules. They cannot pull you up when you have the things you should have. If you don't have the things you should have, they bring you before them and they ask you why you don't have them. You enter a defense and they give judgment according to the traffic law. So it cannot be illegal.
Professor Wokucha shed light on some of the specific requirements that drivers may be asked to provide.
Normal things that a car user should have. You should have a driver's license. A vehicle should be licensed to be on the road. For a vehicle that is carrying people, you should have your insurance. For a vehicle that is carrying load at the top, you should have hackney permit. Ensuring that your vehicle is in order, tires are not worn. You have your fire extinguisher. You have in the event of any fire incident, etc., etc.
Moving on, Minister of FCT Nyesom Wike has charged young lawyers to uphold the rights and liberties of citizens. Speaking at the 2023 Annual Summit of Young Lawyers Forum held at the Justice Mary Odili Judicial Institute in Port Harcourt, Mr. Wike urged aspiring legal professionals to bridge the justice gap by offering pro bono services.
Young lawyers must embrace their role to stand up with justice and fairness. They should be at the forefront of protecting the rights and liberties of our citizens, becoming beacon for justice, fairness, and equity. By doing so, they can set an example to the rest of society to follow. Young lawyers can also actively engage in policy making and advocate for legal reform. They play a pivotal role in shaping and improving the laws and regulations that govern our society. Their fresh perspectives and anything can drive positive change.
The minister also mentioned some of the challenges confronting younger lawyers in the legal service, including financial constraints, limited access to technology and infrastructure, among other issues.
Challenges confronting young lawyers, financial constraints, economic challenges in Nigeria directly impact the success of young lawyers in their legal careers. The broader economic issues in the country significantly affect the opportunities and prospects for young lawyers. 2. Bias. Bias is a significant barrier faced by young lawyers. Bias comes in various forms, such as ethnic and regional bias, gender bias, seniority bias, and client bias. Limited access to technology and infrastructure.
The former Rivers State governor also expressed disappointment over the management of the Nabo Graham Douglas Nigerian Law School built by his administration.
Those of you who do not have any appointment today The opportunity to criticize those who have appointed. The opportunity to criticize government must be ready to do what they are supposed to do. But when you have been given an appointment, for you now to showcase those kind of capacities you think you have, you fail. According to the teacher of the law school, the last meeting of the body of benchers, he said, I'm highly disappointed. Look at the money that was spent in the last law school. Ordinary to cut the classes, you cannot. Money was made available to you to make sure that you don't run back to federal government to say you don't have money.
Correspondent Emeka Otuka reports that the theme of the summit is breaking barriers, creating future leaders in Nigeria from the present and the next generation of young lawyers. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it will hold consultative meetings with key stakeholders in preparations for each free off-cycle election in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo State. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu announced these at a meeting with resident electoral commissioners in Abuja today. Professor Yakubu also said the commission will deploy 46,084 personnel for the elections, while 11,000 domestic and international observers will also be deployed. This comes as 80 media houses have requested for accreditation to deploy over 1,000 personnel to cover the elections on the 11th of November. In other news, Amnesty International says 15 persons who were arrested during the October 20 EndSARS protests in 2020 are still being detained 3 years after the protests. In a statement, the director of Amnesty International Nigeria, Isa Sanusi, said the majority of the protesters are in Kirikiri Medium Correctional Center and Ikoyi Medium Security Correctional Center in Lagos without trial. He called for their unconditional release. Earlier today, some civil society organizations and citizens held a peaceful protest at the Lekki toll gate to mark the 3rd anniversary of the EndSARS protests, in which many were reportedly shot dead. The Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Idowu Ohunwa, had assured that the police would ensure the safety of protesters.
We had 1 or 2 groups that came around on procession, and so far they've been working within our understanding of how it should be. As a citizen, you of course reserve your right to exercise your freedom, franchise, we will respect it, and we'll do it in such a way that in the course of exercising that, the group members are not also exposed to any form of danger. We also not allow a situation where those groups conduct themselves in a manner that will put the interest, the security, the peace around Lekki and environs and across the state.
The federal government says it has increased surveillance at the entry points or at all entry points in the country following the outbreak of bedbug infestations in France and some parts of Europe. Still to come, President Tinubu approves waiver of no work, no pay order against striking resident doctors. Stay tuned as we go for a quick commercial break.
This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Thank you for staying tuned. Welcome back now to the rest of the newscast. A media executive, Lekon Otunfo-Dunri, has urged female journalists to collaborate among themselves and seek recognition from recognized authorities as part of career development and capacity building. Mr. Lekon, who is the executive director of Media Career Development Network, said this during a one-day online training on improving the capacity of women to become expert sources for news, which held in Port Harcourt. The event was organized by Step Up for Women in Journalism initiative.
Career is something that you have to be very conscious about. You have to be very intentional about building your career. If you don't have a career goal with timeline, you will work for so long and you will not know where you should move. If you are going to excel in journalism, pay attention, do what you need to do, find relevant trainings to assess and show your capacity. And except you do them, people will also think that you can't do more than you are doing. If your management cannot see that you have moved up, you will not be trusted with responsibility.
The training was supported by the Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism under its Report Women program, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In business, President Bola Tinubu approved the waiver of the no work, no pay order against striking members of the National Association of Resident Doctors (NAD) on 1st August. Recall that the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation was directed to withhold all salaries accrued by the resident doctors during the 17 days of strike. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, today said the waiver of the policy will allow them to receive the salaries previously withheld. He said this will be the last one to be granted to the National Association of Resident Doctors and all other health sector unions. In entertainment, a Nigerian gospel artist, Samuel Onoja, caused a stir online after he arrived church in a casket to preach about death to self. While some appreciated the idea to express his thought, others criticized it, saying it is not biblical. In sports, Napoli say a report of an unfriendly relationship between the Serie A champions and its star striker, Victor Osimhen, is entirely out of place. The club said this in a press release to clarify recent comments by its president regarding Osimhen.
And now we bring you news from around the world.
On the foreign scene, the Israeli military says most of the 200 people kidnapped in Israel by Hamas militants and taken to the Gaza Strip are still alive. It also said some dead bodies were taken to the Gaza Strip. An army statement said between 100 and 200 people are considered missing since the Hamas attacks.
Nigeria Info.
On the news this evening, you heard a fresh oil spill has been reported at Kedere Community, Gokana local government area of Rivers State. Drivers in Port Harcourt are complaining about activities of police officers attached to mobile courts. Former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike charged young lawyers to uphold rights of citizens. President Tinubu has approved a waiver of the no work, no pay order against striking resident doctors. On the foreign scene, Israeli military says most of the 200 people kidnapped by Hamas militants still alive. The news was edited by Constance Mega. You can see pictures and watch videos of news stories when you like us on Facebook and follow us on X at Nigeria Info PH. On Instagram, it is Nigeria Info FM_PH. For any eyewitness report and breaking news, text and send your WhatsApp pictures and videos to our news text line on 0808 721 7215. Peace is the path to the prosperity of the nation. Let peace reign. I am Kala Dakuru Batabo. Good evening. Do stay tuned. Conversations continue.